everyone? It is Jake Baller here, and today, as you can see, I am back with another ASMR video. In tonight's video, as you can see, we are of course talking sports. I still try to make these sports videos like once or twice a week. Tonight we have a very fun one because we're talking about the best teams in the NBA, and we're talking about the worst teams in the NBA so far this NBA season. We're going to be rating each team from the worst to the best. We're going to be taking a look at the power rankings and seeing, I guess, how the teams are doing this year. I am super excited to talk some mess about some of these teams. Make sure, of course, you guys, if you still enjoy the sports whisper rambling here on the channel, please leave a like on this video. Let's see if this video can get like 300, 400 likes. Let's see if is there 400, or there even 400 people who even still like these sports videos that I do. If you guys could just press the like button, let me know if you guys still enjoy these sports whisper ramblings, if I should even continue making them. Please let me know down below, and also down below in the comments, let me know who do you think who's the worst team, the best team, the most surprising team. How's your favorite NBA team doing? I would love to know who is your favorite NBA team. I would love to know. With the 30th spot, the worst team in the entire NBA, Jake Baller, the Bleacher Report app has the Washington Wizards as currently the worst team in the entire league. Do I agree with that? No, I do not agree with this. Their next team actually had 29. The Brooklyn Nets, I think, are the worst team in the NBA. First of all, the Washington Wizards are a very, very, very tough team to watch. They're still a very young team, very up and coming. They have Alex Sarr and Bob Carrington and Keontae George, and they have a lot of pieces. They have a Bilal Coulibaly. That team has some solid pieces. They are just still so early in their process. They're going to be bad for another couple years. The Brooklyn Nets, like, unless you're like a big fan of like Michael Porter Jr. or Cam Thomas, that team is not even, they haven't even started what they need to do to get their team to where they need to be. They are just right at the start of their rebuild, and man, that is gonna take a while for that team to really start turning things around. And at number 28, they have the Indiana Pacers at 1-11 so far this year. Yeah, honestly, that team being this far down here is making a lot of sense. Injuries, and also this team is desperately missing a player in Miles Turner that they really, really, really needed. Kind of sucks how Miles Turner is a Milwaukee Buck. They're not gonna have Tyrese, and they haven't really had a lot of play from their other really solid role players like Obi and TJ McConnell. It's just been kind of the Pascal Siakam show, which of course Pascal is good, but he cannot carry a team like some of these other players can in the NBA. Honestly, with Indiana being this low, I kind of agree. This year they are definitely going to be a bottom feeder, and it's going to be like that for a while. At number 27, we have the New Orleans Pelicans at 2-9. Injuries, of course, also very much hindering this team, but it's also not just injuries. This team just does not play basketball very well. They definitely have some young players that are very, very good. Of course, Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, some of like their older young players like Trey Murphy, and I guess if you want to put Zion and Jordan Poole in that category, you can if you want to, but like that team is just oozing with potential. They just can't get on the court and make it work. I don't know if they need like a new head coach or something to do with that franchise, but just something. They should be way better than what they are. I don't get it. They just should be way better than this, but they are also a very bad team. 2 wins on the year already is abysmal. That team disappointing. At 26, we have the Utah Jazz at 4-8. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the Jazz have been one of the more surprising teams, even though they've still been pretty bad. They have been pretty surprising with their play, their hard hustle. That team is definitely a star away from really becoming something special. Now, of course, they're still going to be a bottom feeder in the draft, and they're probably still trying to find that star. Ace Bailey has had a kind of some highs and lows, but maybe Ace Bailey can be that star. Maybe they trade Lauri Markkanen for something. I have no idea, but this team is still looking for that key 1A Batman of this team that they desperately need. They need that, the guy, the man, a Batman to somebody's Robin. They're desperately looking for that. At 25, we have the Dallas Mavericks at 3-9. Man, the Dallas Mavericks, they finally fired Nico, which was something that had to happen. You had to fire that guy. Again, how do you go from NBA Finals to trading away your franchise player? I don't know where point A and point B meet. I don't know where that met in that dude's brain. NBA Finals, trading away your best player. How does that make any sense? I have no idea, but that's just what happened. Kind of crazy. But yeah, he's fired, so maybe that's a good turning point. But now you gotta pray that Cooper Flagg is who he is. Now, I do still think this team will probably make the play-in once Anthony Davis is healthy and Kyrie comes back, unless the Dallas Mavericks just kind of toss the season. Maybe Anthony Davis never plays again for the Dallas Mavericks. That could be interesting. At number 24, we have the Memphis Grizzlies at 4-9. That team has also been kind of underwhelming. Ja Morant. What happened, Ja Morant? You were a 25-plus point per game scorer at some point in time. You're the most improved player in the NBA. You had a defensive player of the year in Jaren Jackson Jr. You were a top 3, top 4 seed every single season. And now every single season, your team is getting worse. You had to fire your head coach last year. And then this year, you still have coaching problems. Ja Morant blaming the head coaches and stuff for whatever that was, the little crash out that he had. Kind of crazy. I don't know if it's Ja Morant's fault that this team is not really where it should be. I don't know if it's everybody else around him. But that team should also be a lot better than what it is. They're still fine. I think they're like a top 8, top 9 team in the West when they really lock in. But it's pretty rare that this team ever is really locked in, and I guess that would start at Ja Morant. He is the point guard. He is the leader of that team. At 23, we have the Sacramento Kings. Whoa. You know, I low-key have kind of forgotten about the Sacramento Kings. I think I'd put them a little bit lower. I think I'd put them under Memphis. And maybe I would contemplate putting Dallas over them. Because it's all pretty inevitable that the Sacramento Kings are blowing up this franchise in like the next couple months. In my opinion, I think they will be trading Domantas Sabonis. They're going to be at least putting fillers out for him, kind of testing the market. They're going to be making some calls. Hello, what would you give us for Domantas Sabonis? I think those calls are going to be made. At 22, we have the Charlotte Hornets. You guys kind of know my take on the Charlotte Hornets. I like the Hornets. I love LaMelo Ball. I love the Ball brothers. But man, that team is just so unhealthy. It's really hard to get a good sort of gist on what they really have. I know Nipple so far this year has had a pretty solid year. Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball when he has been playing. Colin Sexton, I guess, has been kind of good. But still really isn't anything that you would write home to. I guess the saying would be, they're still really young, they're still super inexperienced, they still don't really have a great play style, but it is what it is for that team right now. I still would love to see what this team can look fully healthy for a season. I think the LaMelo Ball has already missed some time this year as well, so man, I don't know. That team is okay, it's the Charlotte Hornets. What do you expect? 21, you have the LA Clippers. Oh god, another suck. Which is so weird because last year they were such a super competitive, just like very solid NBA team. And then when they were healthy with Kawhi and James Harden and Zubac and Norman Powell and blah blah blah, that team looked like a scary kind of like underdog team in the playoffs. And man, I think ever since they've kind of just lost Norman Powell, who was probably an all-star for them last season, and trying to replace him with Bradley Beal, which, in my opinion, I think Bradley Beal should probably just retire from basketball. That guy is just, no offense, but like the literal definition of washed is current Bradley Beal. Sucks that he got injured, out for the rest of the year. I think he should probably just, take the shoes off and kick back for the rest of his life. He deserves it. At 20th, we have the Phoenix Suns at 8-5. Okay, we're up to a above 500 record team. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns sucked at the start of the year, and I think they're really figuring themselves out, which is great. They still have Devin Booker, who is amazing still. He's Devin Booker, and Jalen Green has returned to the lineup. They have Mark Williams. That team is something. It's just not really anything that special. And again, having those young guys like Mark Williams and Jalen Green, like trying to help a like wanting to contend Devin Booker just does not make any sense. I don't think they'll ever trade Devin Booker, but if you're looking at it from my lens, a guy who used to do NBA 2K rebuilds all the time, you kind of have to follow that timeline, and Devin Booker just does not fit that timeline. At 19, we have the Boston Celtics at 6-7. Anyways, the Celtics have had kind of an up and down year so far. They've looked really competitive against some solid NBA teams, and then they've had some really bad blowout losses. I also put them around this range of they're not really really bad, but they're also just not very good. I could see them being a 8 seed in the Eastern Conference at the end of the season, or I can see them being in the deep lottery as well. I just don't really see Jaylen Brown really carrying this team to that sort of manner. They desperately need Jason Tatum for that to happen. And of course, also missing guys like Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. That team looks way different defensively than they've ever looked before. Ever. Their others are still pretty solid, like Anthony Simons and Peyton Pritchard, and of course Derek White is still one of the best role players, if you want to call him that anymore, in the league. They're okay, but Boston is just, sheesh, definitely not what they used to be, obviously. At 18, the Atlanta Hawks, they've looked good, but just too many injuries with Trae Young, and I've even seen some Hawk fans say that Trae Young should be traded. So I think that franchise, the fan base, they're starting to turn on Trae Young, which obviously in today's game in the NBA, you need defense, and that's really the biggest liability Trae Young gives you. And I mean, if you can find a better defensive piece instead of Trae Young in a trade, maybe that would help out the franchise a bit. Probably not, though. 17, Toronto, they looked really good so far this year. I think it's a super solid spot for them. Orlando, another super disappointing team, at 6-6 at 16. That's a lot of numbers there. These two teams are probably pretty evenly matched, at least at the start of the season. I do think Orlando is better, but the Raptors have been just absolutely outplaying, out-hustling a lot of these teams. Of course, Toronto doesn't have this huge superstar, but they have Scotty, they have Ingram, Emmanuel Quickley isn't a scrub, RJ Barrett's really starting to find a great role in the NBA, not really having this pressure that he had in New York. That team is just really just super solid with their rotations and everything. That's just a super solid team. They're definitely making the playoffs this year, and the Orlando Magic are the complete opposite. They are just everything the opposite. It seems like they're just losing that really big spark and pizzazz that they had in the prior seasons. They are just not really there. Maybe they'll find it again, but I mean, they have Franz and Paolo. That's a great forward duo. They should be in a way better position right now. And at number 15, we have the Chicago Bulls, who at one point in time were probably the best team in basketball and are now 6-5. As I stated earlier in the year, this team is going to start falling off a cliff very fast, and we're seeing that cliff. They are talented, but they're not, the number one seed in the Eastern Conference talented. I think they could make the playoffs. In my honest opinion, they shouldn't be rooting for a playoff spot this year, but I guess it is possible. Now, this is about where the Chicago Bulls should also be. They should be, around the Raptors and also the teams we mentioned already, like those maybe, yes, playoff teams. Chicago's right there. I love Josh Giddey and what he's doing this year. But, it's still Josh Giddey. Not that impressive. At 14, we have the Portland Trailblazers, another team that's starting to finally, we're seeing the problems of the roster. I think Chicago and Portland are kind of in that same boat where they are surprising. They are very competitive, but, it's still Chicago. It's still Portland. These teams still have very big flaws. And Portland's biggest flaw, if you aren't watching the games closely, closing games. Bro, the fourth quarter is the worst quarter for Portland. They just cannot put teams away. They had Miami the other day. They had Orlando the other day. Even earlier in the year with the Minnesota Timberwolves, going back and forth with them. There's 3 or 4 losses at the top of my head I can think of that if Portland just had a closer, just a player that they could just give the ball to and just end the game, they would have a much better record. And they're getting that player back next season in Damian Lillard, which is really exciting. 13, you have the Miami Heat, who have looked absolutely stellar without Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. Again, they are competing with teams like Portland, the Clippers. They had a game against the Knicks not that long ago, and they were competitive in that game pretty much the whole time. This team is full of a bunch of what's their names, a bunch of just random players, but they all play super well together, and they are not even playing Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo in a lot of these games. It's just a bunch of really solid role players who are just competing super hard, and they're getting the job done. Number 12, we have the Golden State Warriors at 7-6. I've definitely been having a lot of hot takes when it comes to teams like the Golden State Warriors. I still don't really have a lot of belief in them. I think they're an okay team. Again, I think the age is what's really going to hurt them later on in the year. When March hits, are their legs still going to be there? Injuries, things like that. I don't know. I know Steph Curry, I think, has already missed a couple games this year. I think it's going to be a lot of up and downs with this team. I think, again, I keep saying again, I'm so sorry. But this team is going to have a lot of highs, a lot of lows. They're going to beat some of the best teams. They're going to lose against some of the worst. It's going to be completely up and down for this roster. At 11, we have the Milwaukee Bucks at 7-5. That's a pretty good spot for them. Giannis is still carrying this team to a great record, and Miles Turner has looked pretty solid for this team as well. They've also kind of unlocked a couple of random players that are just playing very well, and I really thought this team was gonna be really hurting this year, but they're still figuring out a way to win, and it's been really surprising, and most of it is because Giannis. At number 10, we have the Philadelphia 76ers at 7-4. It is insane that some of you guys at the start of the year completely forgot about the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, guys, when Philadelphia is 100% healthy, which is the biggest gripe with them, they are a super, super solid team, and VJ Edgecombe is a play-now-ready NBA player. I would trust VJ Edgecombe in a playoff series. That's how much I believe in VJ. And Tyrese Maxey's playing at an all-star level he's not just going to completely mess with the team chemistry. They're still going to get Paul George back and Mr. Painted Nail, man. What's his name? Jeremy Kane. When Jeremy Kane starts playing ball again, like, this team is going to really start rolling in. I think, yeah, they are a top 10 team and kind of an underdog to even win it all this year. Again, I think people are really sleeping on this team, which they really shouldn't be. At number 9, we have the LA Lakers at 8-4. They still don't have LeBron. I think that's what everyone is still saying about this team. You know, where they are right now without having LeBron, and even without having Luka Doncic for a lot of these games. This team should be very happy where they are at. I think a lot of the others of the team still need to step up a lot, like DeAndre Ayton and Austin Reeves at the start of the season looked really good. He's still playing pretty okay. Murray Hutchinson has been playing pretty solid. Jackson Hayes has been hustling his buns off. But it's still going to come down to how great Luka and LeBron can take this team, and we still have not seen LeBron yet, which is pretty exciting for a team that's playing pretty well. At number 8, we have the Detroit Pistons. How the hell is the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference at number 8? No. Detroit is way better than this. Detroit is super solid this year. Now, that's not me glazing this team, but bro, Detroit looks really good this year. Their depth is insane, and their depth is actually winning them games. They just won a game the other day without Cade Cunningham or Jalen Duren, who, by the way, in one game together had a 30-point double-double. Detroit is legit. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves at 7. That's a pretty good spot for them as well. Anthony Edwards, a star. The other guys on that roster looking really good. They are a legit threat in the West. Number 6, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They definitely probably should be better than 8-5 in my opinion, but Darius Garland being hurt and all the other reasons why the Cavs are always not that great are still here. This team better pray that they're actually healthy at the playoffs, because this is the year that they could actually make an NBA Finals. At number 5, though, we have the San Antonio Spurs. 1000% a good spot for them. San Antonio, Wemby, that squad, insanely good. I don't think they're a threat to make the NBA Finals, but that's a team that could have a super deep playoff run in this first year of really trying to find some success here, because they have Wemby, and he's that good. At 4, they have the New York Knicks. I think I would definitely rank the Pistons over the Knicks so far this year. The Knicks have just looked so up and down. Sure, they have a good record at 7-4, but man, they struggled to get to that 7-4 record. They haven't really had a lot of dominant performance against a lot of really good teams. I still think they're one of my favorites to come out of the East and make the NBA Finals, but I don't know. That team still scares me. They have a new head coach, new rotations, things like that. I don't know. I think that team's going to be good. Don't get me wrong, but they're scary. They're going to scare me in the playoffs this year. At number 3, you have the Houston Rockets at 7-3. Yeah, they started the year super sloppy, and they really quickly picked up their play style, how they should win games. This is a new team with Kevin Durant. But guys, I think they already figured out how to win games with Kevin Durant, and now we just need to watch them go, because, man, they are already 7-3 after starting the year kind of sloppy. I think they started the year at 2-2. Now they're 7-3 already. Like, they are really cooking right now, and I think it's just going to continue on. That's going to be a scary team in the West for sure. At number 2 are the Denver Nuggets at 9-2. They have the best player, Nikola Jokic. That team is super solid, super deep. This team is really good. Really good. Jokic is great. But the number 1 team in all of basketball, Oklahoma City Thunder team might be one of the best teams we've seen in quite some time, and that's just from having a crazy Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtic won NBA title winning team. Boy, this team is going to be rivaling that Boston Celtic team that just won the title a couple years ago. This Thunder squad is insane. They are so deep, and they have SGA, who's just a god of an NBA point guard. This guy is such a good player. He's going to average like a 30-point double-double, 6-rebound thing his entire career probably. Chet Holmgren is a defensive monster, and their second best player in Jalen Williams hasn't even played this year, and they look this dominant. Let me know your favorite NBA team. Who's your favorite NBA team? Where are they sort of ranked right now? And yeah, thank you so much for liking the video, watching the entire video. I really appreciate that, and that's it. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you again in another video very, 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 very soon, guys.